In 1997, the world was introduced to one of the first 3D Final Fantasy games. It arguably mainstreamed JRPGs, and for many gamers, including myself, it was the first Final Fantasy game we played start to finish. The game was incredible, with fully 3D models, a compelling story arc with interesting characters, lots of spell animations, secrets, and a huge open world you could openly explore and interact with. It may look laughably bad now, but in 1997, the game was state of the art. Now, 23 years later, Square has rebuilt and reimagined this piece of video game history. Is the Final Fantasy VII Remake everything we ever wanted and more?
Alright, you got this.
Or does this remake pale in comparison to its Polygon counterpart?
Well, can't argue with results, huh?
Find out in our review. Going into the FF7 Remake, I had moderate expectations. I was a huge fan of the 1997 version that not only enthralled me with its amazing story and colorful characters, but also helped me greatly improve my reading comprehension. I played the game reading aloud to my little brother, who was 8 at the time. The game brought us closer together, and was a very personal, surreal experience. Me being 12 years old, and following the journey of Cloud, Tifa, Barret, Aerith, and others to save the world on the original PlayStation. I thought it'd be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And yet, somehow, Square Enix managed to create an entirely new game that transformed me back into my 12-year-old self, sitting in the rec room, my eyes glued to the screen, unable to look away. It's more than just nostalgia. What Square Enix has done here is, simply put, incredible.
Can you believe it? I don't think anyone saw this coming!
The remake opens with a spectacular cutscene with the same iconic music that introduced you to the original world of Final Fantasy VII. The game takes place in a giant metropolis called Midgar that was built and is run by a private corporation called the Shinra Electric Company.
If there is nothing else,
Mr. President!
meeting adjourned.
There is no government in this world. The Shinra Electric Company functions like a government for the city, supplying housing, electricity, water, and law. But they're not good. They're an authoritative regime that can pretty much make their own rules. They rose to power by harnessing and refining an earthly resource called Mako, which has endless uses, like generating fuel for cars, providing electricity, and other strange attributes, as you'll come to learn.
The Mako, which flows beneath our feet, is a truly limitless resource. At Shinra, we have developed technologies to extract it and transform it into the fuel and electricity that powers everything we do.
For the majority of the game, you'll play and control Cloud Strife, former soldier member,
A soldier? Ex-soldier.
a form of elite military guard. You've been hired by an eco-terrorist force called Avalanche to destroy a Mako reactor owned by the Shinra Electric Company. You'll be introduced to some key members of the group, including Biggs,
Give me a bit more time and I got you.
Wedge,
Look what I found! Let's give these jerks a taste of their own medicine!
and Jesse,
Okay then, guess you're all invited.
as well as the passionate and easily angered Barret Wallace, who leads the team. Barret believes that if the Shinra Electric Company keeps harvesting Mako from the planet, it will eventually die and things will stop growing. Hence why you're hired to blow up Shinra Mako reactors.
You do realize what Mako is, don't you? Mako is the lifeblood of our world. The planet bleeds green like you and me bleed red. The hell you think's gonna happen when it's all gone, huh? Answer me!
The game's story starts here, but the characters, their motivations, and plot expands exponentially from here. Returning fans of the 1997 original will recognize characters, locations, enemies, and a whole lot more in the remake. But this time around, the experience is unreal. Most of the 1997 game was at an isometric type camera angle. In the remake, you're third person, street level, Square has taken great care with this new viewpoint into consideration by making the city of Midgar come to life. People talk about current events while you walk around the street. Shops are open for business. Kids play in the alleyways. You feel like this is a real place with real people and real problems. This is simply great design, sucking you into the fantasy world in a natural way.
I'm standing inside the gutted shell of Mako Reactor 5.
What could they
As you can
possibly
see,
be trying
there's
to
still a lot of
accomplish?
smoke rising from
They're
the rubble.
working for Wutai, isn't it
While
obvious?
fallen beams and other debris
Cowards,
continue to
using
hinder
spies
rescue
so
efforts,
they don't have
the
to
fires
break the
appear to have been
ceasefire.
mostly
I'm
extinguished.
telling you.
The first moments of the game are linear one-time affairs that you won't revisit again. But they are fantastically done set pieces, and it adds a tremendous amount of character to the world itself and sets the stage of the surroundings you'll play through. It's environmental storytelling at its finest, and there's a lot to take in. I took my time viewing the ambiance of each sector, and suggest you do the same, to really get the most of what the Final Fantasy VII Remake has to offer.
Huh? I ain't got nothing for a punk-ass bitch like you! Get on out of here!
The game's story takes place over a series of chapters, 18 to be exact, and each chapter takes about 2 hours or so to complete. However, the whole game does take place within the city of Midgar. Each section of the city is assigned in sectors 1 through 8. After you escape the opening bombing mission, you'll run into Aerith, the flower girl, in Sector 1. This is where veteran players will notice a major change that will come into play in later chapters of the game. I don't want to spoil too much here. You'll visit multiple sectors in the city that are much more open and larger than the 1997 locations. These sections act as large open hubs or levels. I don't want to say it's open world, because it's not. However, these sections are pretty large in scale, each with their own unique look and feel, as well as specific side quests, minigames, and secrets for each zone.
Glad to hear it. Seems like the perfect fit for you.
What's nice is that if you do continue the main quest line, the game will warn you if you proceed that certain items, side quests, and dialogue encounters will no longer be available. Some gamers may not like this, but I for one appreciated the heads up, so I could track through the area and see what I missed before leaving and triggering world changes.
When you want to talk to a little kid, don't go giving her the professional killer eyes.
There are still secrets and items you can miss though, so just like in the original game, explore, take in the sights, and talk to everyone so you can be sure you've gotten everything.
Aren't you a curious cat, walking dark alleys? You've got balls, so I'll give you a pass. This once.
You make your way through these large areas with the help of a minimap or navigational bar to help you comb through these steampunk slums of Midgar. It's good to know that while shops are marked on the map, not all side mission quests and objectives are displayed map-wide. You'll have to explore and enter a radius until you see a green exclamation point, and listen to the quest giver's hints on where to go, or just explore yourself.
I hear Corneo's got secret rooms hidden in the sewers, more than even he knows if the rumors are true.
Like I mentioned before, some areas are great one-off set pieces, and others you'll be able to return to buy stuff, restore your HP and MP at benches, and complete various side objectives. In fact, toward the end of the game, a lot of old locations open up again, creating a huge, open-esque world to explore and revisit, much like the 1997 original game did at the very end. Each area has a different feel, look, and tone, keeping things diverse and interesting. You're not able to jump manually in or out of combat, which is jarring at first, but you'll get used to how the game allows you to navigate through its environments.
God damn it!
The battle system is best described in one word: brilliant. Somehow, Square Enix was able to take a turn-based game made in 1997, modernize the system, and make it feel just as simple, fun, and nostalgic as the original. All the combat is in real time, and while certain enemy encounters are scripted, you do have random fights just like in the 1997 version. But they only happen in certain locations in the large hub maps, mostly away from populated areas. When you do enter combat, you're able to dodge, block, and attack in real time. While you do this, a bar, called the ATB bar, slowly fills up to 2 charges. It fills faster if you attack or block. Once the gauge is filled, you can execute a command and time will slow to a crawl, giving you ample opportunity to select a special ability, cast a spell, or use an item.
Try this. Going in.
Each character in your party has one standard unique ability, and another based on the weapon currently equipped. However, once you've used the weapon's ability a certain amount of times in battle, you'll get proficient with it, and it will become permanently added to your character. This encourages you to experiment with new weapons to learn their unique abilities and become stronger.
Sorry.
Spells are casted by means of equipping green, blue, purple, and yellow orbs, called materia, to item slots. Some of these are as simple as casting fire, ice, or thunder damage type spells, while others have passive effects, improve your battle prowess, or give you unique abilities, like being able to steal items from enemies. This is where the RPG aspect really comes into play. You're able to build each character the way you want to fill their role in combat, albeit a healer, damage dealer, tank, or glass cannon. You can also link two types of materia slots together to boost the power of a spell, enhance its effects, or increase the amount of XP the materia earns after each battle. That's right, your spells can level up and get more powerful the more you use them in battle.
Survival can be a matter of luck or skill, and you can't rely on luck.
Spells casted have a casting time. The more powerful the spell, the longer the character needs time to cast it. You can be interrupted during this time by certain attacks, preventing the spell from going off, wasting your ATB bar, and draining your MP, magic points, in the process. So be sure to be aware of your surroundings and enemy animations to ensure you're at a safe distance and have time to cast it. This goes the same for your abilities. You can be interrupted if you're not paying attention to enemy tells.
Here it comes.
The famous limit breaks make a return from the 1997 version. As your character takes damage, it fills a limit bar. Once the limit bar is filled, you can execute a beautifully animated power attack that does massive damage.
Gonna throw your ass straight to hell when I get my 10.
Be aware of the distance you are from your target though, because you can whiff a limit break if you're too far away from an enemy.
Any last words?
Unlike the 1997 game, the remake only has one limit break per character. You don't get different versions after you level up, you only get one. This may disappoint some fans, as Cloud only has Cross Slash, Aerith Healing Wind, Tifa Somersault, and Barret Big Shot.
Like I give a shit.
You'll have a lot of tools at your disposal for fights, but it's not as simple as hit it till it dies. Early on in the game, you'll receive Assess Materia. Using it will give you details about an enemy, their HP, resistances, weaknesses, and overall advice on how to defeat them.
Too bad.
Enemies, both common and bosses, have a life bar and a stagger gauge. Hitting an enemy with its weakness elements or interrupting an attack with an ability will cause pressure, which causes the stagger gauge to fill rapidly. Once full, the enemy is stunned for a certain time and takes massive amounts of damage, up to 160% bonus damage.
Shatter. Yeah. You're mine.
Each encounter becomes a beautiful ballet dance of dodging, casting, timing, and exploiting their weaknesses. When everything starts to flow together and synergizes with one another, it gives you an incredible gratifying feeling of accomplishment. You feel like a badass pro esport player when doing it right.
You're done.
Gotcha! Almost had me there.
You're as good as dead.
Huh, and don't come back.
Now you don't have to focus solely on staggering an enemy. You most certainly can hit it till it dies. However, this strategy is a lengthy one, as basic attacks do much less damage when enemies are not staggered or when their weaknesses are not being exploited.
You having fun yet?
Heaps.
You'll have up to 3 party members at once, sometimes fewer depending on the story section of the game you're playing. You can switch between them in real time during battles for direct control, or command them via the shortcut keys. Your AI teammates are pretty competent in dealing damage, blocking, dodging attacks, and won't waste their ATB bar unless you command them to do something. It helps in most fights, especially boss encounters, that enemies are usually focused on the character you're directly controlling, giving you time to issue longer casting commands to other teammates while the enemy is concentrated on you.
You ready?
But be aware, stuns and status effects, like sleep, are absolutely devastating if you get hit with them, and can quickly lead to a failed battle encounter. So learn your enemy's patterns, cast assess, and fight smart. Simply button mashing attacks will not get your team through boss fights or big encounters.
Wow, some hero you turned out to be.
Although every character can have a loadout to your liking, they do each have unique battle roles, speeds, and dodge animations. Cloud excels at close-ranged attacks, and has a moderately fast dodge. Barret is slow, but can attack from a safe distance, dealing consistent small damage. Tifa is the fastest character, has the fastest dodge, and excels at filling the stagger gauge and increasing the damage modifier of staggered opponents. And Aerith, who's probably the most unique, can cast AoE wards and other effects that assist the party on a magical level. The combat is a thing of beauty when you're dancing and dodging around the battlefield, in a synergy of attacks and abilities, staggering enemies with devastating combos.
Whatever.
Finish him off!
Like any RPG, you level up after gaining a certain amount of XP. Your HP, MP, and stats slightly increase, as well as defense, power, etc. You'll also get a number of skill points, or SP for short. These points are put in a skill tree that's attached to your equipped weapon's core. Some focus on magic aspects, others all-out defense, or pure attack power. What's amazing about this system is that skill points are unique to each weapon you are using. No weapon is better than another, they're just different in their skill tree. This adds another layer of depth in the Final Fantasy VII Remake, letting you decide which weapon best suits your playstyle. Unlike the 1997 game, where better weapons were just that, better. This allows you to use Cloud's starting weapon, the Buster Sword, for the entire playthrough if you so choose. I love this game for giving me options on how I want to play, instead of forcing me into a role of damage or defense. Each character has several unique weapons to collect, and some are easier to find than others, prompting you to explore and complete side quests for a nice reward.
Thank you so much! Here, this is for you. The treasure we promised. It's definitely worth at least 3 gil.
A new NPC character, Chadley, shows up in certain main hubs.
My name is Chadley. I'm an intern for Shinra's Research and Development Division. I hope you'll be interested in helping me with my research.
He'll ask you to obtain data to improve his research, and in return, he'll develop new types of materia for you.
I have developed new materia. Would you like to see it?
This boils down to combat challenges that task you to stun a certain enemy a certain number of times, assess X amount of creatures, etc. They're a fun little distraction, and also the only way you can get certain types of rare materia. He'll also offer you summons materia, if you can beat it in his VR simulator. Shiva, Fat Chocobo, and Leviathan are here to earn, and it's fun to battle them, especially with the amazing remix of Those Who Fight Further. However, summoning them in battle is a tad more limited this time around. In the 1997 game, you could use summons once per battle, any battle, and some of them, like Knights of the Round, were incredibly hard to earn and vastly powerful once obtained. Summons in the Final Fantasy VII Remake work a lot differently. Rather than being able to summon them at will, the summons materia is only available at certain times in scripted boss fight encounters. And even then, you can only summon one for that entire battle.
Do your thing.
The reason behind this is that they are incredibly powerful, and unlike the 1997 version, they stick around for an extended time and deal damage to the enemy. You can even issue commands to them to do special attacks.
I can't. I won't.
At the end of their time limit, they'll perform a massive AoE damage move before they disappear. Be aware though, if the party member who summoned them is knocked unconscious, the summons timer will immediately end. This was clearly for balance reasons, but some hardcore fans might be let down.
Learn to live with it.
The one area where Final Fantasy VII Remake really shines are in its visuals. The large levels and enemy designs are just fantastic. It's really the scale of everything that's impressive, having buildings on fire, trash-ridden alleyways, and multiple models on screen at once, with particle effects, animations, and to have 0 frame rate issues is a huge accomplishment on current-gen hardware. That said, it does come at a price. Pop-in textures are fairly common and frequent, especially if you're running through an area quickly. And while most environments look incredible from afar, or as a whole, if you start to stare at something long enough, like a small item or object, you can start to see where Square had to scale back. Some of the sky domes in the game look outright awful. But your focus shouldn't be on the sky domes. Your focus should be on the characters, who look magnificent.
What do you think would suit me, huh?
The character designs are nearly flawless, and are simply gorgeous to look at. They're expressive and very animated. Fans of the 97 game will appreciate the mannerisms and moments of some characters that mimic their polygon PS1 counterpart, like Cloud's famous facepalm. What's even more amazing is the attention to detail on these characters. Materia slotted onto your character's weapon is shown in-game and in cutscenes, and it looks fantastic. Weapons are also visible when you equip them on characters. From Cloud's sword, to Tifa's fist weapons, Barrett's gun arm, and Aerith's staff. They all look beautiful. These amazing character models would be nothing without some of the most impressive voice performances I've heard in years.
You'll come back, right?
Of course, I promise.
The Final Fantasy VII Remake is fully voiced by some very talented actors. I was nervous originally because in certain games, especially Japanese translated ones with a lot of in-game dialogue, voice actors are often given their lines out of order in a list format with no context, which can lead to awkward delivery.
You worry too much. I'm not some princess who needs to be coddled. Shit.
That's not the case here. In fact, every actor explodes with personality, even the mild-mannered ones.
Should have asked for more money.
John Eric Bentley, the voice of Barrett, is a particular standout, delivering a fantastic performance.
Your fears, your worries, your concerns, and yes, your fees. Whatever your problem, I got you.
This is what really holds the story together, since there are a lot of cutscenes. But through these amazing animations and spectacular voice actors, you're immediately sucked into the world of Final Fantasy VII.
You magnificent son of a bitch! Bring it in!
So, where are the others?
Man.
Jesse got hurt and couldn't make it.
This has helped even more, thanks to some fantastic dialogue writing. I laughed several times at certain conversations due to outstanding timing and line delivery.
Wait! Give me a minute!
No.
Why you have to be such a hard-ass, bro?
I ain't your bro.
Towards the end, you feel like these characters have become friends through inconvenient circumstances, and they start to feel like a family of misfits, a family that you care for greatly.
Barrett, I'm asking you. Please.
Fine. Have it your way then. But you better be right behind us.
The music of Final Fantasy VII makes a return in the form of grand orchestral remixes. However, the themes have been dulled down quite a bit. They're still there, and some are great. In fact, some will catch you off guard when they fade in, allowing you to laugh and grin as you remember that song in the original 1997 game. However, some themes are very subtle, too subtle, and if you're a big fan of the 1997 score, you'll secretly wish the music was a bit more on cue with its 97 counterpart. There is new music as well, and most of it is great, although there were situations where the environment did not match the music playing, which, not going to lie, was a little off-putting. The music isn't bad by any means, but some people may not like the subtle take on some of the classic themes.
Dun, 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 dun.
The Final Fantasy VII Remake is a story-based game, first and foremost. While the combat, large levels, and RPG mechanics are in full force, the journey of Cloud, Aerith, Tifa, and Barret are at the forefront. There are a lot of cutscenes, but like I mentioned before, thanks to gorgeous visuals and superb voice acting, you'll never get tired of them.
Just my luck.
I heard that, you know.
While some of the major beats and bosses have remained the same in terms of story, not everything is here. Fans expecting a one-to-one remake of the original game will be met with massive disappointment. There's some glaring stuff that's changed, moved around, and some stuff that just didn't make the cut. Whether it be your favorite line of dialogue, minigame, side quest, or set piece.
Never mind. Forget I said anything.
Suit yourself. Come on, let's move up.
I implore that you don't let that get you down though, because the game expands on other facets. Getting Cloud's best dress may not be as complicated, but the end result is still great fun. The game even has brand new areas to explore and a lot of secrets to find. And some are designed the exact same subtle way as the 1997 version, hid little neat things here and there.
Something exotic?
Really? Then again, if we're making an effort.
Make no mistake, there's a lot of new content here, and die-hard fans of the original Final Fantasy VII will mostly enjoy everything that's new, especially the development of Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge, since they're given a lot more time in the limelight this go around, and you dive into their history much more than in the 1997 game.
I take it you boys have your brand spanking new IDs?
Yes, ma'am.
Then let's lay down some rubber.
Crank that throttle!
Okay, you got it.
That said, not everything added was great. There is one addition that seems out of place. A new character, who I won't spoil, abruptly appears for 2 quick boss fights, then disappears and is not seen again for the remainder of the game. He feels really out of place, and doesn't really expand on the story, or its characters.
You passed the test.
What test?
Driving.
Did more than just pass.
As you continue the main story questline, you'll run into new and old characters, expand your arsenal of weapons, increase your combat battle knowledge, and get just the right amount of nostalgia for old school fans. Around the 60% completion mark, the game starts to soar, reaching new heights, making you excited to keep pressing on, making you invested in the outcome of these characters as these weird glimpses of Cloud's memories start to form. You're excited, ecstatic, on the edge of your seat, even if old school fans know what's coming next. However, at the ending, or rather where the game should have ended, things take a turn for the worst. I'm not going to ruin the end of the game here, but I will say the last hour and a half of the game is a slog, a drag, an unnecessary over-the-top crescendo that didn't need to happen. The game spends 35 or more hours building this world, these characters, and these mysteries up, only to abruptly whip you violently into a Kingdom Hearts 2-like boss fight that's more cinematic than actual battle. It completely breaks the tone, style, and story of the world you just spent the latter half experiencing. The longer this end segment went on, the more upset, disappointed, and devastated I became. An hour and a half of something we just didn't need to play or see, something that will most likely confuse newcomers to the series. I felt it wasn't needed, but was tacked on for fanfare or game length. But this small part of the game I didn't care for does not negate the core time I lavished spending on it overall. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is a masterpiece, a love letter to Final Fantasy VII fans, and an homage to one of the greatest games of all time. At its best, it does everything the original did in 1997, revolutionizing the way video game stories can be retold and reimagined. Square Enix has created a wonderful game full of characters, set pieces, and stories for a whole new generation of gamers ready to follow the journey of Cloud Strife and his friends to save the world. And even though I personally didn't care for the last hour or so of the game, I can't deny the amazing effort Square has put into this. It's a fantastical, wonderful, magnificent experience for new and old gamers alike. For more reviews and everything else gaming related, you're already in the right place. You're on Shacknews.com.